Yes, good evening. It's nice to meet you. This lesson, when we are continuing with our lessons on C sharp. Last time, we ended up discussing about the control structures in C sharp, and we talked about the symbol sequence or the sequence, and we demonstrated it how we perform a sequence in C sharp. So the next control structure which we are going to talk about is decision making. And I encourage you, if you did not listen to the previous lesson, this lesson may prove to be a, a difficult lesson, but because we are continuing from where we left last time. Right, decision making. Sometimes it's known as selection. Sometimes people may even call it branching. That's where programming. Sometimes people may say, "That's let the games begin." So the games of programming are now commencing. Right. So on selection, you can give an analogy. When someone is walking in a path, then you encounter a crossroads. Obviously, as a human being, you're supposed to take one path from that branching paths which have formed the crossroads. So similarly, when we are writing our programs, we may have also a scenario where we encounter crossroads. So the program must be able to choose one, but it will choose only depending with the constructs or the construct which would have been used on that particular program. So generally, on selection, decision making, or branching, we have two constructs which fall under this control structure. We have the if statement and the case statement. So it differs now from language to language, because if we were using a Visual Basic, uh, yes, the if statement it seems sounds the same, but the case statement in VB probably they may call it select case. But here in C sharp, we are going to call or to refer it to as switch case. So, but first things first, we are going to start with the if statement. Right, like what I said on the previous lesson, the C sharp is case sensitive. So our if will be in lowercase, and the structure of our if statement will be like if, oh sorry, need to put lowercase if, then we have a round brush. Inside the round brush we're going to have a condition, then we go down, you put a curly brace, go down, you close the curly brace. This becomes our if block. And if you still remember yesterday, I also talked about the curly braces. I said C sharp, they make use of what? Of the curly braces to um, define its blocks, its code blocks. Like the class program has got its block, the static void main, it has got its own block. The namespace first programs C sharp, it's got its own what? A block, code block. So the code blocks are normally defined using the curly braces. Similarly with the if statement. So now we need to describe, because some most people just end up giving people learners or their students these codes just to claim. They don't even know what is meant, what is taking place. That's what we want to demystify. That's what we want to remove in students. Students should know what is taking place. And even if you are writing, you write, or at least you know what is taking place. Right. Uh, if this one is the a reserved word, it indicates that we are now beginning our if statement. Then what comes after that one, according to the C-sharp syntax, is the round braces. This round brace should follow that if statement. And inside that one should have a condition. And this condition is supposed to be a Boolean expression. And what do I mean by Boolean expression? A Boolean expression is a statement that when evaluated, the result must be either true or false. That's a Boolean expression. So whatever you're going to place inside those round braces should be a statement that when it is evaluated, the result must be either true or false. If you put a statement inside those round braces and when it is evaluated, it will not produce true or false, it means that one is not a Boolean expression. And that one will cause an error to your program. Your program will not compile because it will test during compilation. It will test to see whether when the statement is evaluated, it may yield to either true or false. So that's what you have to be careful, right? Having said this, in most cases we normally use comparison operators, so we need to look on those comparison operators briefly so that we can be in a position to use them when we are creating our Boolean expression. So we have this one is less than, greater than, say this is less than, we have this is greater than, we have a greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, is equal to, is not equal to. Right. These are the operators which we are going to use in most of our time when we are creating our condition. Is less than, is greater than, is greater than or equal to, is less than or equal to, is equal to, is not equal to. So even this not, because this one is normally used to negate, this one is a not. You can be even or use it to negate. Probably there is a condition which we want to and even if the condition is tested, if it becomes true, then it is negated. Still, it's okay. It becomes a Boolean expression. Again, we may also have a variable. A Boolean variable can be placed there, but sometimes you may declare a variable as Boolean. Then you may test it, because if a variable is a Boolean, it means it's either its value is true or false. So again, it can be used there as a condition, right? I think on the condition we have tried to exhaust. Need to move with the speed so that the video will not be too long, because people were complaining that the videos which you are the tutorials which you are making very long, and sometimes we end up sleeping or at least following the what the information with the lesson, right? So after the condition, we have the opening and the closing curly brace that defines the if block, right? So the if block, this one, will only be executed if this condition is true. If that condition is false, it means it will skip this block and comes to the statements which probably will be after the closing curly brace. So C# is a bit smarter. if the if block has got only one line, one statement, sometimes there is no need for you to put the what those curly braces. You can write if condition, you put the statement even below the if or even after the if, because as long as it's one statement, the if block, the curly braces, they are not that as crucial as they are if you have more than one statement. But if you have more than one statement, it means you need to enclose those statements inside the opening and closing curly braces. Right. So this is the first form of the if statement. We have the second form. We're going to use and demonstrate. We have the second form. The second form will behave the else. It will be if else. Right. So the condition remains the same. What differs here is that we have the else block. Right. So similarly, if the else block has got a single line, you may ignore, you may not use the curly braces because their functionality will be not that crucial if we only have a single line. But as beginners, I recommend using those curly braces. Why? Because they also assist you to check the structure of your program. That's why I also recommend using those curly braces. But I'm telling you so that if you go to the compiler, if you go to the ID, I meant to say, and you write your program and it runs without those curly braces, you will say that that person was lying. That's why I'm telling you. But this is a recommendation. As a beginner, please, you may continue using those curly braces so that you may not confuse yourself. Right, so let us now read what happens here. If we say if condition, if the condition is true, this if block is executed. But if the condition is false, it will skip this, it will come and execute the what? The else block. So what is taking place here is like we have a crossroad. So we have our path have branched into two paths. So it's either you are going to the user is going to take this one or the user is going to take this one. So it's similar with our program. It's either it's going to take the if the condition is true, the if block will be executed and this else block will be skipped, be jumped. It will branch. So if the condition is false, it will not select this. So it will come and select this one. That's where it was called decision making. So this is the second form of the decision making if statement. Then the last, which is not least, form. All right, let us take this one. Right, here we now have, sometimes we may have several conditions which we want to test before going to the last resort. We need to test various conditions. Right, on this last form, we will have our if, we'll be having several conditions. Sometimes we want to perform the selection depending with the various conditions. If condition A is true, then we perform action A. If condition B is true, we perform what? Perform action B. It goes like that. So it's like we have about four scenarios. So what it means is, if you test, all right, this is the first condition. Here it's a condition D, A, B, C. So in this scenario, we'll be having like 5 scenarios which can result from testing these conditions. So the conditions which we have, probably we have 5 conditions, but because we have 5 conditions, we cannot test all of the 5 conditions. What we can test only 4, because what it means is, if these 4 are not true, automatically the fifth one becomes what? Becomes true. I used to say this when I would be teaching. Like, if there is a baby born, there is a baby which has been born in a family, people will go for the congratulations, to pay their congratulations. Then they may even ask, "Is the baby a boy?" If the answer is no, it will be not necessary for a person to ask, "So is the baby a girl?" Because if the baby is not a boy, it means automatically the baby is a girl. That one, it's an automatic. So that's why I'm saying, if you have 5 conditions, we will test only 4 conditions, because the fifth automatically becomes true. If all of these 4 becomes false, it means the fifth automatically becomes what? Becomes true. So we will not waste time of testing, because your program will reduce its efficiency. It will run without an error. Even if you test the last condition, it will run without an error, but performance efficient would have been what? Reduced. So that's why I'm saying, if you have 5 conditions, only test 4. If you have 4, test 3. If you have 2, test 1. That's why in the scenario of having a boy, a girl, we just say, if it's a boy, then if a baby equals to a boy is true, then probably display it's a boy. Else display it's a girl. You cannot test that. So if the baby is also a girl, then display the baby is a girl. No, 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 no. Because those one, we only have 2 exclusive. They are exclusive to each other, and you will not have other sex besides those 2 sex. I know some people may try to say, hey, they are mount gender. It goes like that. There's nothing like that. We only have 2. So as such, we have to test 1. So that's the so how does this happen now? How does it execute this, the last form? We are saying that it first tests this condition. If the condition is true, it executes this block only. Then it skips the rest and comes to the line after this else. But if this condition is false, it comes and tests this condition. If this condition becomes true, it executes this one. It skips the rest, comes here. If this condition is false, it skips this one. If this condition is false, it skips this one. If this condition is false, it skips this one. If this condition is false, it skips this one. Automatically it comes and executes this one. That's how it works. So you need to know how this if statement works before using it. Because when you are using it, you know that I want to achieve this. It has to execute this because of this. It has to do this because of this. But our problem as instructors, we go straight to the question. We hammer the candidates with the question. We give them the solution. They are forced to claim. They sometimes claim, sometimes they fail to claim. We hit them, and that's how we are killing the talent or which exists within our learners. Learners are good programmers. They are best, if not the best of the best programmers. So now we want to demonstrate what we've discussed using what? Using codes. Right. So here we are going to have a question and say, write a program that we just want to extend the program of yesterday, that will accept a whole number the program must add 7 to the ended number. And finally, alright, let's put full stop here. Program will then determine that the result is determine whether the result is a multiple of 7. Right, write a program that will accept a whole number. The program must add 7 to the ended number. The program will then determine whether the result is a multiple of 7. So there is need to determine whether the entered number, sorry for not enlarging this one, it seems it was not visible. I'm supposed to enlarge it so that people will be able to see. Right, I'm now seeing the code. Right, where can I write something like this? Can even put this one like ended so that we can see clearly. Write a program that will accept a whole number. The program must add 7 to the ended number. The program will then determine whether the result is a multiple of 7 or not. Right. So it has to display whether the result is a multiple of 7 or is not a multiple of 7. So a multiple of 7, it means that 7, the result can be divided by 7 with leaving a remainder 0. So because of that, we need also to just show one another some operators that can be used for division, because we have this one, the forward slash. This one is for floating point. Right. Right. This one automatically. I'm trying to comment because this one, if I put the forward slash, let me use forward slash. Right. The forward slash, because it was commenting and leaving this one uncommented. That's why it was not. This was the way, this which you are seeing. I'm commenting. If I run with these comments, nothing will take place. So the forward slash is normally used for floating point division. So it's like if you say 9/4, the result here you can have a floating point number, and that's using my calculator. 9 divided by 4, get 2.25. But in C# now, it's a bit tricky that if this 9 and this 4 were defined as integers, that is, they were defined as of type integral types, what it means is the result will be 2, because that floating point becomes an integral division. So that's what you have to take note there. in C sharp, we that forward slash works as a floating point as well as the integer division. It works as an integer division if the operands are of the type integer, or if even the result where we are going to store is also of an integral data type. It means it will return, or the answer will be what? Will be 2. Then we have the modulus division. Modulus, this modulus. This one now, it's a modulus division. The percent is for modulus division. It takes the remainder as the answer. Is the answer. Like in this scenario, 9 mod 4, answer will be 1. So you need to know those divisions because we are going to apply, we are going to use them. So you need to know these operators. We have a lot of operators, but this one they fall under arithmetic operators. That's where we have the addition, the subtraction, and the multiplication. Those are the arithmetic operators. As programmers, as upcoming programmers, you need to know those operators. Right. So now we are now answering the question. Write a program that will accept a whole number. Obviously, need to declare like what you did yesterday. Is it yesterday? I don't still remember. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, or on that first lesson which I presented on the introductory lesson, the one which I'm referring to. Right, int now. Then we prompt the user console.writeLine. And press enter. Don't forget to put the semicolon. Right, here we say num. This one we did it so people now know what we are doing. Dot int that 2. Right, console dot read line. Right, from there we now add. So obviously we need we can even declare a variable here, int result, because people may think that declaration is done on top. No, what you need to know is you use the variable after you've declared it. That's the golden rule. But the way to declare, it's upon what the way you want it. It's not a rule that you should declare. That's why I did it this way. Int result equals to num plus 7. Right, 10 minutes. Then now make the decision making. If result mod 7 is equals to 0, then you put your curly braces for the if. Then obviously display. Programming is all about copying and pasting. People struggle writing these codes. Just copy and paste. Why do you want to struggle yourself, to stress yourself with the typing? You can even say this one is a multiple of 7. Result. Copy. We put the else. Right. Determinate is not a multiple of 7. Right. Sometimes we want even to put uppercase. Right, like this we save our project. go to debug. We start without debugging. Enter a whole number and press enter. Right. First I have to press 21. Right. So 28 is a multiple of 7. This is true. Right. Whenever you are running a program, you need to test it twice. Let me put 22. 29 is not a multiple of 7 and it's running perfectly. So that's I used the second form. We may extend this one. Probably may want to answer another question, which we may also demonstrate on how to use the if, else if, else if, else if, else if. Right. The question, let us put the new question here. Right. Write a program that will accept a mark from the user through the keyboard and determine grade. This is the common question. Determine grade for the mark using the following criteria. 80 to 100, 80 to 100, probably you can say distinction. um, 70, probably to 79. Grade equals to 2.1. 60 to 69. Grade equals to 2. 50 to 59. Grade equals to 3. 0 to 49. Grade equals to F. Right. Any other mark equals to invalid. Right. These are the grades, the criteria which we have been given to use to grade, to perform grading of a mark which is going to be entered through the keyboard. So we are going to edit this code. I'm going to edit this code so that we perform the grading using the else if, the else if, the else if. So I prefer using the correct, not correct, but it's a recommendation. When you are using the variable names, they should mean what they're going to hold. I understand. I once talked about that one on my previous lessons. Right. So here I'm now declaring as what? As mark. Then here I'm saying enter a mark to grade and press enter. So the mark has been entered there. Right. So now we are now performing the decision making. If we can combine, if mark is less than equal to 80, end. This is the end operator. And mark is, we see it's supposed to be greater than, not less than. Greater than or equal to, then this one becomes less than or equal to 100. So this one, it means grade now we need to probably declare the grade. I never declared it. String grade equals to distinction, because I declared this as a string. Else if, right, we now copy this, paste it. Right, here, since we did marked the upper bound, so if the mark, it means we need to continue, because I saw the problem here. I wanted to use one upper bound, but let's continue with the both the upper and the lower. So the upper here becomes 79, and here becomes the 70. But you can even we can even use another method of starting with this, with the exceptional, so that if you say if the mark is less than 0, or, because you need to know these statements, or let me use this one, or mark is greater than 100. So it becomes else if, like this. Suppose I want to remove this upper bound, right, so that it is workable like this one, because we need to improve the efficiency of a program. Even the code invalid according to the question. This one is invalid, because if mark is less than 0 or mark is greater than 100, it's invalid mark. The grade is invalid. Then if it's greater than 8, no need to put 100 now, because anything which is greater than or equal to 80, it means if this one is false, it means the mark is within 0 to 100. If this condition is false, right, I was supposed to write it, but I'm interested by explaining before even going further. Right, if the mark does not fit in this scenario, if the mark is not less than 0 and the mark is not greater than 100, it means the mark falls within the range 0 to 100. So it becomes here. So if it is greater than or equal to 80, it means automatically the mark falls under a distinction, that is 1. No need to put the upper bound, same as here. No need to put the upper bound, because if you still remember what we were describing, or what we give, the explanation which I gave on how this else if works, then it means you get what I'm saying here. Just copying and pasting, don't waste time on coding. Put the lower bound only. Here we'll put 2, right, copy paste, right here we have 3, and the lower bound will be what, 50, and here no more condition, because this one becomes what, becomes the only remaining condition, because we have 80 to 101, so we have 1 2 3 4 5 6, so you should have 5, the conditions, that is 1 2 3 4 5. The 6th becomes the obvious one, so no need to test. That's what I was saying. So we can even run our program, but before running we need to display. Let me just copy this one. I'm very lazy on typing. Let me copy and paste. Copying and pasting it here. Right. So I want to display in a manner, let's say mark equals to this one, grade equals to this one. Right. The mark is a mark, the grade is a grade. Right. With this one, we can now run our project. Debug, start without debugging. Right. Me start by testing the out of bounds 150. Right. Marker 150 invalid. Right. Me. I opened with this is 2022. Right. Because it has got this button. Right. It happened with a mistake. I opened it unknowingly. Right. Let us put a mark which is probably 92. Right. So fine. Let us put a mark that will be like 48. Oh, wow. So it's working. So that's how the decision making will be taking place. You see that it only displays one A grade because it's decision making. It has to display one and only one. We were supposed to proceed to the switch statement, but our time is not permitting us. For the next video, watch it for the switch case statement, and we will be using probably the same example. We proceed because it's decision making. We have to make some minor changes. Then we have to run our or write our program. Can make some minor changes, though in the earlier versions of C sharp, should be before C sharp 12. Sometimes you need to write it in another way, but C sharp 12 you can even write it in a similar way to the if statement using the switch case. So on the next lesson, we are going to talk about the switch case. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.